Better Listen Podcast, your megaphone for electronic dance music and Berlin nightlife. What you like to hear, what you like to dance to, and what moves you. Hello and welcome to the Better Listen Podcast. My name is Liz and I am your host. It is 2022 and I am finally back from taking a long winter break. For the first episode of the year, I had the chance to catch John Johnson at his home in Belgium. He used to be a DJ, producer, and managing director of well-known companies and started building up the media company ICONYC 5 years ago. ICONYC is known for releasing progressive house and techno and is headquartered in New York City. John lives very private these days and hasn't invited any guests to his home for 2 years. I would like to point out that I feel absolutely honored for the chance this podcast provides as we take a closer look behind the scenes of music business. We took the time to sit down and speak about his achievements from DJ gigs back in the day to launching and managing such a big and successful label. John tells a story about how fighting cancer has changed his life completely ever since and how it got him first out of music and then later back into it again. We talk about what's really important in life, his upcoming projects and collaborations with big players such as Bitwig and Netflix, and what else is next on ICONYC. Why don't you have a seat at our table and, as usual, let this podcast be served to you with the highest quality sounds. This time released by ICONYC. Hi, John. It's so nice to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me to your home. I feel very honored.
You're very welcome.
And I cannot wait to actually record this episode with you. It's also been quite a while. We talked for a couple of months actually to do this, and now we finally came to the point and made the time, and I flew the way to Belgium and now I'm here. So yes, I'm really looking forward to the next minutes to an hour. Cool. And I want to jump right into it and first just find out who you are as a person. Maybe you can just briefly sum up from all the many things that you've been doing in your life, but just to give us a little bit of intro into how it all started with you, maybe like right from the beginning, how you came to music and how it all began.
I think you need to extend the podcast to 2 hours.
We can do another episode sometime later.
I'm not so sure about that. All right, well, look, it's very simple. Hi, I'm John. Most, I don't know, a lot of people know me from my company ICONYC that I run and manage, but I have my music history goes back to the early 90s. So I think for me, how it all started, I fell in love with techno back in the early 90s. The Frankfurt sound did it for me. I was a vivid visitor to the Dorian Gray at the Frankfurt airport. That was Sven Väth's residency at the time. You had people like DJ Duck from Frankfurt, Taucher, you had like Mare de Bellis, Tala 2XLC, you had all these really big Frankfurt techno guys at the time. And then that's sort of how I got hooked. And I moved in 94, I moved to South Africa because I went to university in South Africa. And I basically, through my love for electronic music, I supported my university years with DJing. I started to DJ. My friends used to send me vinyl from Germany, from the UK, and I used to have these records in South Africa that nobody else had because, South Africa at the time wasn't exactly a hotspot for electronic music, but it was very, very up and coming. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of how I got into, DJing and more, inclined into electronic music. And from there, it's sort of the next logical progression was making your own music. So I had an Atari computer and an old keyboard, like an old Casio, was a CS80, I think, if I remember. So And that's how I made my first records. And I had my first release in 94 on the Belgium label, funnily enough, called Yellow Cab,
Oh, wow.
which was a sub-label of Bonsai at the time. And so sort of it started all from there, and then it evolved, and then by 90, I think, was it 97, I moved to the UK. End of 96, after I finished university, I moved to the UK. And continued. I was, instead of working as a chemical engineer, I had a master's in chemical engineering. I was waiting tables, and I was trying to DJ, and I met the guys from Plastic Fantastic in Covent Garden at the time, became friends with them, started working there on a part-time basis, helped them out in their store, in their vinyl store. And sort of the rest, they say, is history. I kept producing. And I think my big break was in 97 or 98. I did a record for John Digweed, Heaven Sent, his big single as Bedrock.
I read about that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that would sort of catapulted me into the limelight. And, from then on, I was just touring and DJing and doing a lot of remixes. Looking back.
Were you traveling like the whole year, like every weekend?
Yes.
Throughout like Europe, the world, everywhere?
The world. Mm. I was doing 150 gigs a year. I was going to Australia, to Japan, to Singapore, to Switzerland, to Berlin. I was playing in London a lot. I was playing, at Gatecrasher, at Cream, like all the Ministry of Sound, all the big clubs in the UK. And then I was playing a lot in America. 10:15 in San Francisco, Twilo in New York, Costa Rica, Guatemala, Brazil, Argentina, and then all over again. Sort of, I was playing a lot, I was producing a lot, I was releasing, on big labels at the time, the big labels of that area. I released my music on, and that continued sort of for nearly 10 years until in sort of the end of it started in 2004 when problems started arising. I think the music industry was changing from sort of the vinyl days that I was very much part of to digital. There was this change. There was no EDM. There was like sort of a crisis, sort of an identity crisis within the scene. And for me, it was like a few times I was having a lot of personal problems as well at the time. And it sort of culminated towards the end of 2006 when I was diagnosed with cancer. And for me at the time, it was like, I didn't tell anybody. I kept it to myself.
Oh, really? For how long?
Well, some people that know me for a long time will probably be surprised to hear it for the first time today.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
I'm a very private person. As I said, I've been through a lot. I've been through a lot of ups and downs, and we all made mistakes in life. And as I said, you then have to reflect on what has happened in your past, and you need to be honest to yourself and have a deep look in the mirror and reevaluate where you are and where you want to go. And I made the conscious decision that, something needed to change because I was sort of at the end of the road with my music career and also with my personal life and also with my health. And
Did you stop? Did you take the moment and just stop there?
I think, as I said, all these things culminated into this one big issue that made me realize that are far more important things in life than success, money, being loved, being liked. And, you decide for yourself, or you realize maybe what is important to you. And to me, it was very clear that the life that I was living up until that point was not worth continuing. When you're in the limelight, and I think a lot of people that are famous these days, they will relate to this. I'm not famous anymore by any stretch of the imagination, but back then I was semi sort of famous for who I was and what I was doing. When you're in the limelight, like I was back then, you encounter a lot of love, but also a lot of hate You know, when you're successful, and people assume things of you, even though they don't know you. They heard something from somebody.
Always, of course, yeah.
And that's how it starts. And then all of a sudden, you get to hear it, and you think, what? And that's when I made a few choices, like really distinct choices, moving forward to protect myself, because I got hurt a lot. Look, I've done a lot of, mistakes in my life, but I always owned up to them like a man should. But there is a certain line that you don't want to cross. Yes, there is a certain line you shouldn't cross, and you will not. If you don't know somebody. And I made the decision I needed to completely leave all of this behind. So for me, at the end of the day, I decided, you know what, I need a clean cut. I need to get healthy. I need to forget all of this that has happened, and go back to who I am. I'm essentially a very nice guy. Well, at least the people that are close to me say that. But
you try to be.
Yeah. But I just, I went back and reinvented myself and found myself. So I left Europe. I moved to New York. I got chemotherapy treatments. It was a long road to recovery. It took me 18 months to get really fully healthy.
And it was really a turning point in your life.
Yes.
Yeah. I would just like to use this chance right now and use this turning point, and we will talk about this in a second, but I would like to also introduce the first track of this episode, which is called The Sky Is Still There by Sherman in the Black Space remix that was released by your media company and label, ICONYC. New York, and you did the chemotherapy in New York for 18 months?
Yes. Well, it wasn't 18 months. It was like I did 6 months of chemotherapy, the treatments, and then rehabilitation, and I fully recovered. But when I made the decision to move to New York, I wanted to change my life. I wanted to
start over.
Yeah, get away from everything. I think so much had happened by that time. By the time I left everything behind, that I just had a good look in the mirror and said, look, this is it. I just need to reevaluate where we are. And I decided to go back to school. I went back to university. I got my master's in business administration from Columbia Business School, and I went back into corporate life. I started working for various big corporations. I started off at Ralph Lauren. I was at Ralph Lauren for nearly 3 years.
Something totally different. That's so interesting. Yeah.
Yes. I do have, people that know me very well know that I have a very close affiliation with the fashion world, that I have a long-standing history within fashion as well. But that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, another episode. A different podcast.
Yeah, so I did that. And then in 2009, I got the offer to go and work for Prada in Italy, in Florence. So I moved to Italy for 2 years, and I started working with Prada in Italy. But then I got the offer, to come back to New York. I love Italy, don't get me wrong. I really enjoy Italy. I love the lifestyle, the food, the life and everything. But when you look at it, the bureaucracy to get anything done in a timely manner in Italy it's next to impossible. And it was just driving me crazy because I'm this organized. I changed completely, this illness completely changed my outlook on life. I'm very structured, very organized, I'm very precise, and I like to do things, get things done and not wait around. It's like this typical Italian saying, you make an appointment on a Monday, you might be lucky if he comes on a Thursday.
Wow. Yeah,
and I love Italy.
I've been there also for vacation. I love the place, but I can definitely relate to what you're saying, that when you're a very organized person, it's quite interesting to get by.
It's very difficult. And then the opportunity arose to go back to New York. And I took the opportunity. I went back and never looked back. So that is like, we are talking 2011. I was there. I cut off a lot of people, for example, when I left to go to New York, I had still contact with one or two from the music world, but not many. And by 2011, I sort of completely cut ties with everybody. I was like, completely leave me alone. Just, I didn't even, a lot of people didn't even know I was in New York. A lot of people still assumed I was in London, which I wasn't. And I kept it that way. And only really a few close family members and really close friends, they always knew what I was up to, what I was doing. But I always chose to keep things on the down low. So that's New York.
That's New York. And then we are now at around 2011. How did it evolve from there? And I'm also very, very curious already when we get to the part where ICONYC comes into place.
Well, the thing is, though, when you look back at my musical history, it's like something I've always been proud of. It's not like that I absolutely want to deny what I did. I'm very proud of what I did back then. But then, when you're in a position that I was in 2010 to 11, when your life is completely different now, I just went and Googled myself, what happened to John Johnson? And I came across this blog in Hungary by a guy called Gray that was running this blog. And he wrote, he had this music blog and he was writing, what happened to John Johnson?
I read that too. I found that too in my research. Yeah. It's still there.
Yeah. So what happened to John Johnson?
What happened to him?
So I thought, you know what? I dropped him a message. I sent him an email saying, hey, John Johnson is well and alive. And that was sort of the start of me coming back, being back drawn in. He was the one, Gray, who basically drove me back into all of this.
He's the one to blame.
He's the one who he started off like, can you do a guest mix for old time's sake? Can we do a classic mix for old time's sake? And I just did it. And it was fun. We had fun. And then he started a label in 2010 called Stella Fountain. And he asked me at the time if I would be able to do a remix for him. And I was really not, I really didn't want to do it. But I did it, as a nice guy.
Something was calling you and dragging you back into music again.
So I did the remix for him, and then it sort of evolved from there. And then I made the decision that, it would be good to have my own label, and just for the fun of it. And the idea behind it was to put out music, that I like and that I love, just to stay connected, but not really get involved to the context or to the way I am now. I run a fully embedded media company with everything that comes with it. Back then it was just like an idea. Let's start a label. That's how ICONYC started. And
it had to start somewhere.
Yeah,
definitely.
And so we started the label, and sort of the first 2 years were like, they were okay. They were nothing special. We were releasing music that was from more than up and coming. We had the occasional bigger name attached to a project as a remixer, but I wouldn't say, or I wouldn't consider myself or ICONYC at the time, 2016, 17, I wouldn't consider the label as big or what it is now. It was just like another label. Yeah, we have to be very honest about that. And for me, people that know me know how driven I am. I'm a very extremely driven person, and or have become, I have to say as well. And that was the reason why I then made a few decisions that changed sort of the course of where ICONYC was going or where ICONYC is now, in regards that I started investing a lot of money and, you know, and basically running ICONYC as a business, like as a business that I knew from my business life, and started treating it like a business. So
I think it kind of also changed the dynamic, and also like for you, not only for the label, but the whole dynamic at ICONYC and at your life changed a little bit. And I would also like to use this turning point again, because I really want to introduce all the music that we have planned for this podcast, and it's just so interesting. But I could listen forever and ever. But let me just quickly squeeze in here another track that I would love to introduce to this podcast. It's called Secrets by MXV. Have fun. So now we're at the business side of side of ICONYC. So I guess we're now coming to the very special projects that have been going on and that are coming and waiting in the future for us. And maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the things you have planned.
So basically, what as I said, after 2 years of running ICONYC, we made these changes to actually make a run for it. We decided we should make a run for it and make sure we get the label and the brand up to a place where I can actually say, you know what, this is a successful or known label or brand itself. And we continued working the label. We just introduced more well-known names to the label. We upped the quality on releases, the way we started working the releases. And after 3 years, like 3 years in, I then also realized that to make that really big step, because most labels these days, they have a big figurehead running the label. So if you look at, let's say, Innervisions, you have Dixon. You look at Drumcode, you have Adam Beyer. You have always a big superstar DJ running a label, and that's how these labels become successful. You know, Tale of Us with Afterlife, for example. But because I don't produce music anymore, so that wasn't an option for me. So I needed to look at other avenues, how we can actually, set ourselves apart from everybody else. And that's how ICONYC TV was born. ICONYC TV was born out of me wanting, so basically what you do with your podcast, but I just wanted to do something similar in video form, mixed with some DJ mixing and of people that are well respected, that are very well known around the world, but people don't have the chance to get them to know them on a more personal level. And we did the first season of Red Bull of ICONYC TV together with Red Bull TV, and it sort of grew from there. And out of this, more and more projects started happening. And make a long story short, with the 5-year anniversary, we are announcing our collaboration of the new season of ICONYC TV with Netflix.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Release! Yeah, so exciting. That's awesome.
Yeah. And and this is basically 5 years of really hard work and putting in a lot of effort. I now have a big team of people working here. Up until the first 3 years, I was doing this all by myself. I had a little bit of help from Gray in the beginning, but Gray was starting his own label. He had his other label as well. So over the course of now 5 years, looking back, ICONYC now is I would say a small sized little enterprise. We have 40 employees here, 40 people working here across all the different divisions of the company, because ICONYC is not just a label anymore. As you know, we have the media division, which is ICONYC TV, which takes care of all the video, film format. We teamed up with Red Bull Media, signed a collaboration deal with them, long-term. Netflix, of course. Then we have, as you know, we are starting the first official Bitwig production academy in the world. It's Bitwig only, so we teamed up with Bitwig in Berlin.
It's so exciting. It's incredible. Yeah.
So we will have the academy in the summer. We'll have the first academies will be in Berlin and in New York. We've been in Berlin now for just over a year. So we have an office in Berlin as well, as you know.
Oh yeah, this is so exciting though, because it's also very central. Yeah, just incredible.
It's we've come a long way since the early days, and now.
And it fits so well because this is a Berlin podcast. I'm so honored. Now it all comes together and the ends meet again. The strings get tied again.
We talked about this before. I always said to you, Berlin was something that was on my mind for quite some time because of what Berlin has become, what Berlin resembles now, what Berlin symbolizes. I think we mustn't underestimate the influence that Berlin has on the world when it comes to creative subjects, art, music, fashion.
Definitely.
Yes.
Especially electronic music.
Yes.
To put it just straight up, definitely. And next to all this, you're also releasing music like non-stop. Like how often do you release music?
We release every 2 weeks. So we have a release on the label every 2 weeks, which will be reduced in 2022 a little bit because we are making this jump from less is more, but we want to do the right music. We want to release the correct music and do less, but like higher quality.
That actually leads me to the next track that we can now introduce here in this podcast. It's called Way Too Long by Deployed. Enjoy.
It's been way too long. Then walls around me. Keep my distance on. Too much about me. Trying to keep you out cause I love my same space. But the problem is I never looked into my own face. It's been way too long. Then walls around me. Keep my distance on. Too much about me. Trying to keep you out cause I love my same space. But the problem is I never looked into
that is also one of the reasons why we become successful in the last 5 years, because we don't talk, we just do things.
Apart from tonight, though.
Yeah. Well,
it's so special. Yeah.
It is. I didn't want to do it, as you know, but well, here we are.
Here we are, and so far I think it's going really great. I mean, it's so many interesting projects that I feel you just have to talk about. You don't need to, of course, but it's just so much nicer, and also for people out there to understand who are the people behind ICONYC and what's coming and what's to it, and how does it all work, how does it all fit together. I just think it's I prefer talking. I like to talk. Yeah, I'm a chatter. We have another track that we can introduce. Maybe you want to introduce it. It's So Alt Delete in the remix. Maybe you can moderate for this podcast tonight.
Okay, so the next track we are going to listen to is a track by British producer Soul Alt Delete. The track is called Words Not Spoken, and it's the Rafael Serrato and Anthony Toga remix.
Have fun. For all the listeners out there is the Netflix collaboration that's coming up. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what makes it different from other documentaries that are already out there, and other streamings or other projects. For instance, there's also DJ streaming with Circle. What are the differences, and what makes your Netflix collaboration special?
I think, the bottom line, it's very simple. It's the story. It's the story that you tell and how you tell it. I think in a world that we live in, there's so many people that are well known, respected, and they have a lot of fans, especially big musicians, like people look at Monica Kruse, for example. She's been around for decades, but how many of her fans do really know her or really know how she ticks, how she feels, and what her life, what's important to her in life and what's not. We only see her as this wonderful superstar DJ producer that is in the limelight every weekend, playing these big festivals, big club gigs, and then that's it. People have they never get a proper insight, as if you were a friend. Like, you need to look at this documentary as something like that. It's a friend coming to a friend, sitting down and talking, getting to know these people on a level that has never been done before. Ooh. And I think that is sort of the overall concept that I will give you. I think companies like Circle, who do an amazing job with their live streaming in these beautiful locations, they certainly were an inspiration for the first season, but Circle is already there, so there's no point of doing something like them because it's been done, and they're very good at it, and I think all due respect to them for what they do, and I really like what they do.
Yeah, me too.
But for what we do, it's a bit different. I think you need to look at also the way some of the stories you will get to see and to hear will make you cry, will make you laugh.
Really? Wow.
And will also shock you beyond
Really?
belief. Yes.
Oh, wow. I'm really looking forward to it.
It's to me, it was very important that this is an extreme insight into these people's souls. And it was important to me that we portray that in the most sincere and respectable way possible, without making them look like clowns, for example.
Or feel naked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we wanted to tell the story in such a way that when people watch this, they maybe understand why they do maybe certain things. They understand the way they are. They understand maybe why they need to have 20 managers around them to protect them. And they shouldn't be judged. They should not be judged because they are famous or they're well known or they have lots of money. It doesn't matter. We are all human beings. We are all people with a heart and a soul. We all have feelings. And a lot of people, the social media world can be very unforgiving, and they forget very fast and very quickly how much damage they can actually sometimes do to a person.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it goes both ways, right?
Yes.
Social media can lift you up in tremendous ways, but also really hurt and damage, for sure.
People will need to wait now for it to air, to be finished. We're in the final stages of finalizing the project, so we have another, I think, 2-3 months of filming to do, then the final edits and the scoring. And the nice thing about these episodes as well is that each of the guys and girls on the episodes are scoring their own episodes. So if you watch, for example, the Bookershed episode, all the music you will hear in the episode will be done by Bookershed themselves. And
so cool.
And I think that is something that makes these episodes very unique as well.
Really nice, really nice. So we can wait for it later this year sometime.
It's scheduled for Q2 and 2023.
At least it's coming, as long as it's coming, surely. Yeah, let us close this chapter of this podcast with the next track that we can introduce. It's another release on ICONYC. We're now listening to Takes All Kinds by Allies for Everyone,
which is also the theme song of the new upcoming ICONYC TV season on Netflix.
Just tell us a little bit more about another project that is so exciting that is also coming up in the near future. It's just so many exciting projects. We don't know where to stop. But
no, by the time we get to this point, people are going to say, who the hell is this guy? Get him off.
What is he doing? How
we had
come
enough.
I don't know him?
Get him off. We had enough. Well, another project that we initiated, or that's going to initiate this year, in April, is a new editorial magazine, online magazine called The Standard. I teamed up with Dave Jenkins, who is the ex-editor, chief in writing editor of IDJ magazine in the UK. And he's also the head writer of the Netflix project. He's the head of the writing department here at ICONYC. So I talked to Dave and we had this idea of The Standard. And The Standard will be like going back to proper editorials, going back to articles, well-written, researched articles about up-and-coming artists and, of course, established artists. Tell their story, but tell it in a really nice way of actually being interesting, and not like these 100-word paragraphs that you get these days now. Nobody takes the time anymore. I know the attention span of people is not there anymore and they're not interested, but we will combine it with video and music and make it really interesting so people, and it will be a platform where you can do a lot of things. You can come, and we run a few successful playlists where people come to us and ask us, to listen to their tracks. If we want to share them on our playlist, if they're fit, they can come to us and ask us if, we can do a press release for them. They can come to us and ask if we can do a feature on one of their artists, do an interview, do a proper editorial, take some pictures, do some videos. It's sort of basically a media platform for anything electronic music related.
Amazing. Yeah.
Cool. That will help established as well as up and coming artists. There's no, we are all iconic in our own right. And this is where it all comes to in the end. The thing is, iconic is such a specific word that symbolizes such a specific thing. But you are iconic to somebody in your life. Everybody is iconic to somebody.
Definitely, yeah.
And this is how we look at it. And I think the platform launches in April this year.
I was going to ask that. Yeah, I also find it so interesting, the name that you picked for this magazine, The Standard. It's also just like iconic in another way, very, very strong. Like you want to make or set up a new standard or bring a new standard out there that makes, even though makes everybody equal and like raises the stand up, and just now we start from here, because I think you really raised the standard with this by giving everybody access.
You see, the thing is, some people might think it's arrogant, but to me it was exactly what you said. I wanted to create something with a high quality, like everything we do here. To me, it is always very important. Whatever we do the best we can. The Standard also ties back to the old days of editorial. When you look at newspapers in the UK, you have the Evening Standard, you have the Standard in New York. These old school editorial newspapers that were bringing out great content but died or diminished because of social media or because everything is now digitalized. And we wanted to bring something that is in line with the times we live in, but at the same time brings that beautiful content that is diverse, has a lot of facets, but is very interesting and engaging at the same time. Bring through the next generation, for example. Make sure that I'm an old man now. So
you're not that old, John.
Yeah, old enough.
Old enough. We're all old enough.
Yeah.
Old enough to do this podcast and talk about life.
Yeah.
We are almost running out of time. So there's one last thing on the agenda that I do with every guest on my podcast. And it's a little game that I play. And it's actually, I don't know if it's played in other countries, but it's a game from my childhood. So it's a German game, I guess. And it's called Himmel oder Hölle. Have you ever heard of it?
No, but you're going to tell me all about it now.
I will. So yeah, to translate it for all our non-German speakers, it's called Heaven or Hell. And basically what you do, or what we did as little kids, we used to fold a paper and write things on this paper, and it becomes like a little like a figure, and you have to decide very quickly between two or more options and then open up this figure. So you open up this paper, this folded paper, more and more, and this is how you solve the game. So now I would like to play this with you and answer you ask you some questions that you have to answer fast, and it's either or questions, so heaven or hell. Would you be up for this?
Yes, let's go.
Let's go.
Himmel oder Hölle?
Would you rather go vegan for a month or only eat meat and dairy for a month?
Meat and dairy.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't expect that. I thought, because everything being healthy and...
The thing is, it's like...
Probably because you've gone so long without it. Maybe
I try to eat very healthy. I'm not a big red meat eater, as you know, but I do like fish and chicken. So if you ask me meat and dairy, I love yogurt. I eat a lot of natural yogurt, like unsweetened, just plain, simple natural yogurt with fruits and like healthy things. And I would eat chicken and fish, which I consider meat, or just vegan, then no contest.
DJing in the club or making music in the studio?
Making music in the studio.
How long has it been since you made music last?
Well,
quite some time, no? But still you would choose it over DJing.
The thing is like, okay, I'm going to tell you a little secret.
Again.
We didn't talk about this last time, so I'm going to tell you. I do actually have a few projects under different names that I've been using and making music. But,
release.
But so that's why music in the studio. Don't ask me what the names are. I'm not going to tell you.
Okay.
The whole reason behind this is I just want to, again, because once people know that's me, that opens up.
Oh, you do this for a reason. Yeah. No questions asked.
I do this music just for me, for fun.
Melodic house or progressive techno?
Melodic house.
Would you rather have the ability to see 10 minutes into the future or 150 years into the future?
Ooh. Do I really want to know what's going to happen in 150 years' time? Oh, I don't think so. I don't want to have that on my conscience. 10 minutes.
Vinyl or digital?
Vinyl.
Would you rather be forced to sing along or dance to every single song you hear? Now we were going to find out if John Johnson is a dancer, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, he's not. Oh, I can assure you, he's definitely not. Well, then you have to put up with my cranky voice. Singing.
Okay. Singing, all right. London or New York City?
Again. Yeah, it's New York.
New York.
Yes.
Do you prefer vocals or instrumental?
Vocals.
Would you rather listen to your least favorite song on a loop for a year or never listen to any music at all for a year?
Yes, that's impossible. So my least favorite song on the loop. Maybe I get to like it after 6 months.
Oh, yeah, see? Everything is possible, right? Who knows?
With music, life without music is not alive, sorry.
And also you said earlier, off podcast to me, that music is emotion, a mood, a language. And I would really like to quote you on this one and grab the chance to close this podcast with this saying from you, actually. Because it's a very beautiful end. Once again, thank you for inviting me to your home. Thank you for this opportunity and all the best. And I cannot wait to hear and see and watch all the different, many different projects that are going to be released with ICONYC.
Thank you very much, Lisa. I really appreciate you having me on your podcast. To all your listeners out there, I hope you enjoyed a little bit of the ICONYC and John's story. If not, well, tough love. And
as always.
But yeah, look, this was fun, and if it does well and if people enjoy this, we'll do another one in the future.
Oh, I will quote you on this one.
No, I take that back.
Thank you so much, and to everyone out there, have a great day or a great night, and hopefully hear you, see you, hear me soon, and you should better listen. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.